All of our family members are so multi-talented, and Orly today is going to step in the kitchen because she's a good cook. You have a family, you love cooking for your family.
Love it.
And this is one of your husband's very, very favorite recipes that you make for him.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a chicken pot pie.
It's a chicken pot pie.
Okay.
Oh, there they are.
Look, there they are. How beautiful.
I don't know Mike that well, but this tells me a lot about.
I know.
He's like a,
I know.
He's like a dude. You
Well,
know?
this
Like a
is
pot pie.
oh, here they are. Let you guys
your
get a
family
taste
or
of
the pot
this
pie?
one.
Your family's
Well, here's everybody.
Wait, they're here. I see them with the chicken pot pie, and I'm like, come, bring them to everybody. Yeah, this isn't something I grew up making. I ate, my mom always cooked kind of a Mediterranean-style diet, so this isn't something I grew up making, but on our first date, one of our first dates, my husband ordered this, and I realized how much he loved it, so I was like, well, I need to learn how to make it.
Oh, that's You're going to show us how to make it.
I am.
How do we get started?
Okay, so the ingredients here obviously are pretty classic for a chicken pot pie. The most important thing is doing a nice real fine chop. That way every bite is like the perfect bite. You get a little, yeah, dig in.
I know you're in hot. Before you start, how did you meet Mike?
He was, I started working at a bar when I moved to New York to go to film school. I'm going to put the chicken in while we're talking here. I moved to New York to go to film school, and I needed a job because I had to pay for my rent and my films and all that stuff. Oh, there's my hubby. When we first started dating there. And so I got a job at a bar. That was probably 8 years ago.
Okay.
And no, just chicken.
Oh, chicken.
Although, Margaret, you have a veggie one, I believe.
Yes.
And so, yeah, he was the manager. He had just got a job as a manager at that bar, and I was there as a cocktail waitress. And that's how we met.
Well,
really glamorous.
You dated the
fancy. I dated my boss.
Scandal.
Scandal.
He couldn't be here today, as you know, but he did send you a little video.
Oh, get out.
Take a look. Take a look.
No, he didn't. Shut up.
Yes, he did.
Hey, Orly.
What?
Wish we could be there today to get my favorite chicken pot pie. Hope you're bringing home leftovers.
There you
That
go.
is so cute.
Cry.
I don't think there will be leftovers. Sorry, Mike.
No.
Orly, let me
Matt
just
Iceman is
ask
here.
you. That was, first of all, that was adorable.
So
but
sweet.
getting to the chicken, I noticed you
Yes.
put some spices on it. What did you put on it?
Yes, so the chicken is seasoned with a little bit of garlic powder, salt, pepper, and paprika. I use that a lot when I make chicken. It's just like a really easy marinade, and the paprika gives it like a nice color. So we're gonna let that simmer. I like to cook it almost entirely on one side so it gets like a little crispy in color. And then you're gonna turn it down because it is gonna continue to cook in the oven. So now in this big pot, which is the pot that we're gonna cook our entire pot pie in, you're gonna add finely chopped onion and celery and your carrots. They don't need to be quite this finely chopped when you're doing it at home, but a nice small dice, again, so that you get a little bit of everything into each bite.
Matt's almost done
way-
with it. It's so good.
There is a universal sign.
Yeah.
If it's good pot pie, you have to eat like this. You go.
Yeah.
Because it's too toasty. Yeah.
And I would also recommend eating it with a spoon because
Yeah.
this keeps falling
That's
off
how
of my
I eat it.
fork.
Yes, I
will
eat
say
it with
the-
a spoon for
The
sure.
one thing that's missing is a beer. Orly, this is so perfect.
This is
Listen,
for
if
a
I
beer.
felt like it would have been appropriate, I would be serving you cocktails
so
while
good.
I was cooking. Now, you guys are gonna let this get nice and soft and translucent. A little bit of. I think that's we're talking. The best sous chef in the world. Oh my God. You want all the yummy smelly to come out and smelly to come out of this. And you guys are gonna roast this just a little bit so that everything gets nice and soft together. And let's check to see how we're doing. We got a decent color. Let this go for another minute. Now, there's a couple of shortcuts that I like to do because when I first started cooking, there were certain things that really overwhelmed me. Anything that was like a roux or a gravy, I was like, I add flour and and it gets thick and then I got really overwhelmed by it. So I actually I use a cream of chicken soup as the gravy. So it's one of those things that if this is a recipe that overwhelms you or you're a newer cook, there's a couple of shortcuts that you can take so that it doesn't end up being something that's scary. And I also don't bake. Christina, don't judge me.
I don't bake either because it's too scientific. And there's too many rules.
That's not true. You just baked last week.
Did you see the disaster?
You baked us that
I had?
tart.
Don't laugh at me, Mark.
I'm sorry.
What?
And so you see this nice color on the chicken. This is the color that we want. It has a little bit of that crispiness in there. And so when I do this at home, I'll usually flip it and then cover it for just a minute turn the fire off and cover it, and the chicken releases like its own broth. And so by the time that you take the cover off, maybe a minute or two, and you add it to this, it adds a little bit of chicken broth to it. For time's sake, we're just gonna go ahead and add it in now.
Look at her being the chef. Come on, you're doing really great.
Listen.
So impressed.
Now, here are our potatoes. We've already peeled and boiled them, but russet potatoes are really...
Why did you parboil them?
So you're gonna cook them. They take a little bit too long to cook in here normally, and you wanna cook them just under because it is gonna continue to cook in here, and it's gonna go in the oven, so you don't wanna get anything too like mushy. So you wanna make sure that you kind of undercook some of your vegetables and give them the time to continue to cook.
Do you need this now
Yes,
or the veggies?
I'm gonna add the soup. So now we add the cream of chicken soup directly in, and you're gonna have a little bit of chicken broth off to the side that you're kind of gonna assess as you go. You want it to be thick, but not like this, right? This is like, so you're gonna let it cover it and let it kind of cook together, and everything's gonna release a little bit more water and juice, and then assess how much it needs. So let's say, for argument's sake, that this was it. This is too thick. So now we take, could you just do a little splash in there for me?
A splash of chicken broth?
Little splash of chicken broth.
Is that okay?
And mix it through perfect. You can always add more, so just be careful not to add too much because you don't want it really soupy.
Right.
Now I'm gonna add canned corn or frozen corn, either one that you want. Again, saves you some time. And the last thing here, I like to add frozen peas, and I like to do it right before it goes in the oven because it keeps them like crisp
and
that little pop and the nice green color.
I was actually going to say that these veggies really still have a nice texture to them.
Yeah, you want to make sure you don't overcook it too
You don't
much.
cook them until they're dead.
I even like the frozen onions, the little frozen onion pearls.
I mean, save your eyeballs some tears, right? Do it. So you would cover this and let it sit for just a minute. And now, because of you, I know why that happens. The onion is protecting itself.
Onion lacrimatory factor.
Or that.
English, Dan. Speaking English. It's not nice to speak another language at the counter.
This is the consistency. This is the consistency that you want. Okay, so this is what it would look like. You don't want it too thin. You still want it kind of soupy. This is that consistency. So we're gonna pour this into our dish here. Now, when I make it at home, I do like a huge one so that it's good for leftovers and everything the next day.
It tastes better the next day.
Okay, so this is my next shortcut, which I highly recommend. I don't know if you can see really close. There's little like seams going on down here.
What is that, a pie crust or a crescent roll?
These were crescent rolls.
Oh, okay.
And so you just kind of push those little seams together.
Ah, that's why it's so flaky.
Yeah, and it helps if you don't bake. This doesn't make you feel so guilty.
Great.
So you lay this on top, yeah, shortcut. And if you're doing them like you guys have where you're entertaining and you want to make individual ones that look really fancy, you can sort of pinch them together and cut them into the right shape and put them on each person's. And then we put it in the oven, and you're just gonna put it in the oven long enough to cook the bread. So you're gonna follow the directions.
And what temp? Oh, so it's.
Yeah, so it's like 375. And then,
So apparently it's 375 for about 3 milliseconds, and it comes right out like.
yes, and then I usually just cut it and put them into big bowls or like this, and it's got tons of vegetables and chicken and all sorts of yumminess.
Look at all this is steamy coming. Look at this steam coming out. Can we see that?
Mike, you done well, big guy.